Hey, I'm 𝗙𝗪𝗁, and you're watching Keto and Crime.
Some of you may remember 𝗙𝗃on, a social media influencer conference that was set up to rival VidCon back in 2018. You may also remember one of the people associated with that farce, which is the only way to describe it, named Michael Weiss. Well, he recently made an appearance on Dr. Phil to kind of clear his name and kind of be confronted by people that actually attended this conference. And basically what we got was a lot of emotional, in my opinion, a lot of emotional manipulation. I do feel sorry for the guy. Nobody should have to go through that at his age, but then again, nobody his age should be, putting himself into these situations, in my opinion. I admire him for being a hustler and for being a, uh, entrepreneur, definitely. But he went about it all the wrong way. There was a lot of deception involved in what he did. Basically, this conference was set to rival VidCon because Tana was upset with VidCon. And it ended up being one of the biggest disasters ever in the convention sphere. I mean, you combine this with, the 𝗘𝗶𝘁 conference. It's just double proof that perhaps YouTubers should never put on conferences and leave that to the professionals. But I did a video on this back in 2019. It was almost an hour. It gives you the exact history of the conference and exactly what happened there or what didn't happen there. And with his recent appearance on the Dr. Phil show, I think there's probably a lot of my subscribers and others that may not know the whole story of 𝗙𝗃on. So I want to re-release that video so that you can watch it before you watch the Dr. Phil interview, or at least get some background for that interview. Anyway, I will link the Dr. Phil interview in the video, in the card, so be sure to click on that. And with that being said, let's take a look at one of the biggest conference disasters in history. I'd say it rivals only, 𝗘𝗏𝗁 and even Fyre Festival as far as the farce that went down there. So for those of you that enjoyed my Fyre Festival video, definitely check this one out. So let's jump into 2019 𝗙𝗃 telling you about 2018's 𝗙𝗃on. Let's go.
Hey everyone, Keto Comic here with White Collar Crime Wednesday. Today we are doing another festival, 𝗙𝗃on, which I guess you could consider it the Fyre Festival for YouTube. Yeah, this was a very interesting thing that took place just last year, and it did not result in any criminal prosecutions that I'm aware of, so it's a little bit different than some of the other stuff we're going to cover in this series. But it did result in some bankruptcies and a lot of damaged reputations, and it was a really big failure. Whether or not it's a scam kind of remains up in the air, a lot with Fyre Festival. I still kind of think maybe he initially, Bobby McFarlane initially set out to do a good festival that way, but then it just devolved. So I'm thinking maybe this was the same kind of thing where they just did not have what it took to put together something this large scale, and it just kind of went and ended up being kind of a scam. Some of the people that paid for this still have not received their refunds, so it's yeah, it's kind of out there. But let's get into it, shall we? All right, let's meet the players, and I'm going to move myself out of the way here so you can see. Two main players in 𝗙𝗃on. First of all, you have 𝗙𝗃 and Michael Weiss. And 𝗙𝗃 is an internet personality with over 4 million subscribers across 2 to 3 channels, I think. She was born in Las Vegas, June 24th, 1998, to Becca and Richard Mojo. Couldn't really find a whole lot about what they did for a living or a whole lot about her childhood, but I do know from watching her channel that it was kind of a rough bringing up, that her father was mentally ill, Her mother was abused. It was just kind of a way, it was just kind of a bad growing up. She used YouTube as an escape. She started watching YouTube when it first came into its heyday in the 2007, 2008, literally when she was 10, 11 years old. She started watching YouTubers like Shane Dawson and some of the early, OG YouTubers, and she said that was her escape. So she became so enthralled with these people that literally became her friends, even though she didn't really, even though she didn't really know them, they became her friends, and she really started to crave to be like them. So in 2015, she started her own channel. She has two, Tana Mojo and I believe Tana Blogs, or Vlogs is the other one. But she became famous for her story times, and that is mainly how her channel started. She would tell these long, extravagant stories about things that may or may not be true. There's been a lot of speculation about whether some of her stories are made up or whether they're actually really happened, and that could play into the whole thing about TanaCon, about, she can talk better than she can do kind of thing. She's also a singer. She's got a couple of hits that charted on iTunes. One's called Hefner, came out in 2018. She's also a rapper. I don't make the rules, okay? I don't get it, but I also don't make the rules. So that's kind of what she's known for. And in addition to being a storyteller and a musician, she's also kind of known as a hot mess. She's one of those typical, she moved from Las Vegas to Los Angeles. She's kind of known as one of those hot mess LA vloggers. Now, I spend a lot of time in LA for comedy. I love LA, a lot of great people there, but the YouTubers that live there that just vlog every day and vlog about their extravagant life, think Jake Paul, think 𝗓𝗏 Paytas, think those kind of people. They kind of fall into a niche all of their own where they're a little bit of a hot mess, just a little bit. So she definitely fits into that. And she's been evicted a couple of times and stuff. I think her love life has been, to say the least, a little bit traumatic. She's been with women, she's been with men, some pretty high profile ones. And yeah, but she tells stories about all this. I'm not delving into her personal. It wasn't hard to find information on her because she lays it all out there on her YouTube channel. So she definitely just a drama girl, for sure. Well, then there's Michael Weist, who was the other major player in the TanaCon debacle. He was born July 25th, 1996, in my hometown of Nashville, Tennessee, to Amy and Michael Weist. They were real estate developers and pretty successful ones, so he kind of had a privileged upbringing. He had 3 brothers and sisters, so he had a very privileged upbringing, a sharp contrast to Tana. Went to private schools, went to college, had the best kind of education that you can imagine, and just like his parents, because they were real estate developers and that's an entrepreneurial pursuit, he too became an entrepreneur. By the time he was 17, he was a pretty sought-after party DJ in the Nashville party scene. He even DJ'd party for for artists as big as like Kings of Leon and, Rascal Flatts and things like that. A lot of bands. Nashville's pretty big, so it's not just country music. A lot of musicians make their home here. A lot of celebrities make their homes here. So, because there really is no paparazzi here, we don't do that here. I still live near Nashville. I lived in Nashville for 15 years, but I still live around Nashville. So I can tell you that it's a very welcoming place for celebrities. So a lot of them, so he kind of made a name for himself by the age of 17 as a DJ to the stars. In fact, if you Google Michael Weist DJ, you'll still pull up his website where he still does DJing. And you can call him if you decide you want to DJ and you're in the Nashville area or you want to fly him out. Think about it. Anyway, so he already had made a name for himself as an entertainer of sorts. He also he got really, just like Tana, got really interested in the YouTube culture. And so he started reaching out to some of the big YouTubers and forming relationship with them and started a management company of sorts where he was actually managing them by the time he was 19. And then he started probably what was his biggest venture, and that's Good Times Entertainment, which was part management company, part live event company. And he started staging a series of YouTube style events around the country called Good Times Live. He did them in Chicago, New York, Nashville, Atlanta, really just big cities where he would reach out to these YouTubers and see if they all wanted to come together and do a live performance for their fans and get paid for their and be able to sell merch and just get paid for their participation. And so that's what he did. So instead, he wasn't doing what you would call full-on conferences, because if you've ever been to a conference, there's like main entertainment and then there's side entertainment on different stages. And then while the conference is going on, for people that aren't in any of the live events, there's lots of booths and stuff to do outside the conference for people. Well, his events were a little bit different in that they were mainly like concert style. So all these YouTubers and personalities would come in and do whatever their act was, and perform for their audience. So it was a little bit different than an average con that you might think of. And by con, I mean conference, not they're conning you. But so he started doing those, and they were pretty successful. They went off pretty well. There were a few complaints about people not being able to get in because they had oversold tickets, but a lot of types of things, a lot of events, and even like public service companies like airlines oversell stuff because you play the averages that certain people aren't going to show up. So, I mean, that's just kind of par for course. Not really doesn't make him a scammer or anything like that. It's just what you do. So he had made himself a name for that, in that. He now owns a company called Good Times TV, and is a documentary filmmaker. He has a pretty well-known documentary on YouTube about TanaCon that's got about 1 million views, and he's still a DJ. So that's Michael 𝗏. We got a serial entrepreneur and a celebrity coming together to form a conference. So don't you know how great this conference is going to be? All right. Why was TanaCon even conceived? And I have a few little notes here, not really much to it. But basically TanaCon came out of Tana Mojo seeking revenge on VidCon. Now, if you don't know what VidCon is a big event started back in 2010 by the Green brothers that has since been sold to Viacom. So it's a big operation now. Viacom owns MTV, CMT, a bunch of other things, but it's a big gathering of YouTubers and their fans. And it's a true conference style. You know, we were talking about how Good Times Live was more of a concert style event. VidCon's a true conference in that you sign up, they give you an outline of all the events that are going to be going on, and they rent a huge conference center in Anaheim, California, with a million different rooms. And in each room, every time slot of the day, there's something different going on. So they email you the schedule, or they give it to you in an app, and you literally can sign up for what you want to do as a ticket holder. And the tickets can range from, I think, $250 a person up to over $1,000 for, well over $5,000 for, packages that include room and board and food and all this stuff. But basically, you sign up for what you want to do in advance, or you could just go and wander around, and you may or may not get into certain events. It just depends. But you have all these events going on all throughout the conference, and in the hallways of the conference center, you have booths. You have YouTubers that are not necessarily doing anything at that point that are setting up tables where they'll talk to their fans. You have corporate booths. You have all kinds of stuff going on. There's lots of entertainment. There's food vendors. There's beverage vendors. There's merch vendors. There's always something to do at a conference like this. I've been to a couple of them, not necessarily VidCon, but I go to DragonCon every single year because it's a big gamer and cosplay, and yeah, I'm that kind of geek. Every year I perform comedy there with a troupe out of LA, so we go every single year, and while I'm not performing, which is 3 times during the entire event, I wander around and meet people. Got to meet the cast of the X-Files last year. But anyway, so there's always something to do. You can always get food, drinks. There's always something to do. They're very fun. If you haven't been to one and you can afford one, I highly recommend going. So that's kind of what VidCon was in contrast to Good Times, which was just an event you bought tickets for. You go in, you sit down or you stand, and you watch your YouTubers come out one at a time and perform, and then maybe there's an autograph session afterwards. But with a con like VidCon, you kind of always have access to some kind of entertainment, and you can go and come as you please, where Michael's events were more, this is the set time, it ends at this time, hello, goodbye, that kind of thing. So it's a big honor for people, YouTubers, to get invited to be a featured creator at VidCon. And what that means is they put you on their posters, they put you on all their marketing literature, you're going to be there, and they ask you to market it on your social media to get your fans to come. So back in 2017, they had told Tana's agent, Jordan, that they wanted Tana to be a featured creator. So Tana was excited because she said she always wanted to go to VidCon as a kid when she was just a fan and couldn't afford it. So to be able to go as a featured creator was just a dream come true. So she promoted the crap out of it. She tweeted about it. She talked about it on YouTube. She Instagrammed it. I don't think she's ever been on Facebook, but she got at least a couple million people to go. I mean, that's how big she was. Well, she waited up until right before the event. It's always in June in Anaheim, California. Waited right up until the event, and they put out their list of featured creators. Guess who wasn't on it? Tana. So she had her agent call. They said, "Oh, we'll just have her come. We'll figure it out when she gets here," kind of thing, whatever. So she goes ahead, but because she wasn't a featured creator, she didn't get, a room in the hotel, and also she didn't get a coveted plastic badge that says you're a featured creator, which enables you to get behind the scenes. Like there's a whole series of tunnels that creators can use to get from one event to another within the conference without being mobbed. But if you go to things like that and a celebrity just walks out onto the floor, they're going to get mobbed. It creates a serious security hazard and safety hazard. So they didn't give her that, but she went ahead and went because she's like, okay, I'm just going to go. She bought a ticket and she went. And she didn't even have access to the hotel where all the other creators stay. She stayed at a cheap hotel, she said, about 3 miles away. So she goes, she checks into her hotel, and she just goes to to VidCon, walks in, mobbed immediately. She walks into just the hotel and conference center where it's being held. She's mobbed. She said security grabbed her, pulled her into a behind the tunnel, and told her she could not do that. She needed to leave the premise. She was a safety and security hazard. So, and they told her she couldn't, she literally could not be on the floor. They basically told her to get the F out, in her words. Now, she wanted to meet her fans. She had tweeted that it was her birthday. She wanted to meet up with her fans. So she asked them, can't you just give me one of those badges, the featured creator badge, where I can just stay behind the scenes with my friends who are also YouTubers that are also featured creators that are here. Can't you please just let me have that so I can not create a safety hazard and still be here and still meet with my fans like I promised? No. So she wasn't having it. She tried to get back into TanaCon several times. I apologize. VidCon. She tried to get back into VidCon several times. Each time it was a mob situation. And so security basically drug her into a room and basically told her to get out or they would ban her for life from VidCon. Well, the problem was, even though they didn't give her a featured creator badge, she was there with her network. Now, if you don't know about networks, there are networks on YouTube where creators kind of bond together. They form a network. They get better advertising rates. They can negotiate better deals with YouTube. YouTube and her network that she was part of at that time had scheduled her for a panel at VidCon. So she wasn't a featured creator as far as VidCon was concerned, but she was a featured creator on this one panel, and she still had to do that panel. She had a contract where she had to be there for that panel, and she asked them, can I please walk through the tunnels to get to that panel? No. No creator badge, no secret tunnel. So she literally, her and her manager had to literally pile coats over her head and walk straight through into the panel, right up through the crowd. When people realized who she was, she got mobbed again. So she gets pulled again into a back room, and the CEO of VidCon at the time came in and basically said, I'm walking you out of here. Don't come back. If you do, you'll be banned for life. So they take her down. They walk her down. People see they're mobbing them as they walk. And in the whole course of this, a giant glass window in the conference center gets shattered because all her fans are beating on it trying to get to her. Yeah, I don't understand it either, but it's a thing. And so for that reason, she was put into a car and sent away. So she was still able to meet with some of her fans off premise. She went to some of the offsite parties, still able to meet with some of her fans. So fast forward to VidCon 2017, where they basically tell her the same thing. We didn't realize there was such a demand for you. We're really sorry. And if I said 2017 early, I should have said 2016. So it's 2016 is where this happened. Now we're at 2017. I apologize. Again, same thing. They have her play it up. And not only was she invited to be a featured creator at VidCon, but this was when YouTube Red was first coming out with original programming, and she was actually a cast member on a show on YouTube Red called Escape the Night that was being premiered at VidCon 2017. So her face was on all the posters with the rest of the cast. It was on the building. They put a hologram on the building with her face, the entire cast of the show called Escape the Night. So, of course, she's going to have to be there. And not only that, they invited her to be a featured creator. So she's propping it up. She's promoting the show. She's promoting VidCon. Guess what? Featured creator list comes out about a month before the show. Again, she's not on it. So her manager calls and says, "What's up?" She's on all these different events for the show. She's on all your promotion material. She's on your building. What do you mean? Well, just tell her to come on. We'll figure it out. Deja vu. So she goes. One of her friends that was also there and on the show said, "Just stay in my room so you can stay in the conference center." So again, they get there. All of her friends have their little badges. They're able to go through the back tunnels, no problems, but they still won't let her in. So she has to walk through the crowds again to get where she needs to be going to all the panels. They were doing an escape room for Escape the Night that she had to be at. Not only is she well known as a creator, but they've got posters and pictures of her everywhere. So yeah, just to say that the mobs were probably 3 times larger than they were the year before. Yeah, same thing. All of the security kept dragging her to rooms, berating her. She would tell them, "Look, I have to be here. I'm on your building. Please help me." Again, she started becoming kind of a safety hazard. And finally, at one of her last panels, she got drug away by security because they wouldn't let her in the back. She had to walk through the crowd. Of course, there was a mob. And the new CEO of VidCon comes in and says, "We're throwing you off the premise. Get out." So they literally get the cops to take her out. Along the way, she says she's crying, she's cursing. She says, "Look, you asked me to promote this event. You promised me you were going to make me a featured creator. I'm on your building. I'm on the show that you're premiering here. Why are you doing this to me?" And she said that he basically told her it's because of all the trouble you caused us last year. Now, I don't know if that's true. That's what she says, but is video of her being mobbed and taken out like this several times at VidCon by other people and just fans. So we know that the events went on. Now, whether or not that was actually said, we don't know. But she was begging, "Please, you've made a ton of money off me. I'm not even allowed to sell my merch. I'm being thrown out of here when all I want to do is be a featured creator at VidCon." So basically, he took pity on her. He went and got a badge and wrote her name on it and gave it to her. So the rest of VidCon, she was able to get in secret tunnels, which leads me to believe to save the face. Why didn't they just give her one of those and let her be there without being a safety concern? But anyway, so he apologized and said, "Next year you will be a featured creator, I promise." So again, she's promoting it. 3 times the charm, right? Well, about 2 months before VidCon, they call her manager and say, not only is she not going to be a feature creator, we are banning her for life from VidCon. Do not be on the premises. So, as you can imagine, sparks go off in her eyes. She is about to just blow up, and she makes an almost 2-hour long video telling this entire story because she said she had kept from telling it over the past 2 years because she wanted to stay in good with VidCon. So she just lets it all hang out. And at the end, she says something along these lines. Wouldn't it be awesome if some of us smaller creators or some of us independent creators got together and put something together to challenge VidCon on the day of VidCon and show them that they're not the only game in town? Well, people started tweeting about it. They were on her side. Yeah, all these creators, including big ones like Shane Dawson, Philip DeFranco, all these people were tweeting saying, we think this is a great idea. You know, she had a range of friends that were huge popular creators like Bella Thorne, The Gabby Show, Shane Dawson, James Charles, Bradley Wanamaker. All these people said, yeah, we'll help you. Let's do this. Let's give VidCon a run for the money, because VidCon had pissed off several creators. They had banned several creators because they were safety risks. So she decided, yes, we can do this. So she reached out to Michael to see if he could do this, if he could set up a conference to rival VidCon on the day of VidCon in Anaheim. Could he do it? He said he could, and she trusted him because she had been on several of his Good Time live performances, mainly in Chicago, like that, but she had been there for several of his Good Time events, so she knew he could do it. She knew he put on a quality event. So they decided they were going to put their brains together and develop Tanacon. Come out from VidCon executives, former VidCon employees said, yes, that indeed happened. So I can understand her anger. So that was the main reason for doing this conference. Now, the initial thing about her possibly doing a conference and all the hubbub about it happened about 2 months before VidCon. So we're talking April, last of March, 1st of April 2018. And she teamed up with Michael Weiss, who had had a lot of success with smaller scale conferences. But so they started meeting about it immediately. Basically, what they wanted it to be, if not as big as VidCon, at least cheaper than VidCon's. Because I said VidCon tickets ranged anywhere from several hundred up to several $1,000s, depending. And so what she had was basically 2 ticket tiers, is what she wanted. Free general admission tickets, which are called featured creator, where you still get access to all the live entertainment, everything, except you don't have the dinners and lunches with your favorite creators. She did create a little bit of a higher tier called, but as a free ticket, you still get in and still get to enjoy it. Now, as far as the VIP tickets, which at VidCon those could be thousands, they were $65 a piece, and they were called feature bleeping creators. I'll let you fill that in with the appropriate F-bomb. And those were $65. So those were the 2 price tiers. If you were a VIP, not only did you get access to the live entertainment, you had some specialty meetups and lunches with your favorite creators. You also got a gift bag, supposedly, that was going to be worth 4 times your ticket price. So you were supposed to receive a gift bag that was worth in excess of $270. So that was the gist of it. It was going to be the same 2 days as VidCon, and right down the road from VidCon, because they booked it at the Marriott Suites that was right down the street from VidCon. What they didn't realize is that VidCon had an agreement with most of the major venues in Anaheim that they would not book anything else that might compete with them on that day, so they were running into a lot of issues. As you can see, this was just a hot-headed move. They didn't really research it, so they started getting into some issues about booking an event with enough space. And in Anaheim, because of contractual obligations with VidCon, because VidCon had contracts. Okay, we're hosting it at the big convention center, but if those rooms sell out, then we have contracts with these other hotels to still give plenty of rooms for creators and fans. So they kind of ran into that, but they were able to book a Marriott Suites right down the street from VidCon, about 3 blocks away. And according to all of the contracts and things that we've seen, and these are online, I'll put links to all this below. I didn't want to get any copyright strikes, but I'll put links to all the documentaries and pictures and things like that below. But basically, they signed a contract with this Marriott Suites that only held, with all the conference rooms, the hallways, the lobby, the restaurant, everything that they said they would use, only held 1,044 people. That was the capacity. So you can see when they booked this, they were not anticipating any more than 1,000, maybe a couple of thousand people coming. And at a couple of thousand people, you can still kind of, shift them in and out, because a lot of people will probably be going to VidCon and this, so there'll be a lot of in and out. So I think they thought, okay, we're only going to have like 1,000 to 2,000 people come, and we can rotate people in and out. At least I think that's what Michael's frame of thought was. I don't think Tana really, because of all that Tana really, in any of the footage from the planning process, I only see her telling Michael what she wants. She wants these gift bags that are worth 4 times the amount. She wants good security. She wants a good stage, and she wants lots of meet and greets and live entertainment. So that's what she was telling him. Now, she didn't really help with any of that. She kind of went on vacation to Hawaii with her girlfriend at the time, Bella Thorne, and didn't really, and left it kind of all to Michael. But then again, he was the event planner, so you would think that that would be okay. But in the end, they sold over 5,000 tickets. And there is some footage of them sitting all together talking about they had already sold 5,000 tickets. And there didn't seem to be a whole lot of urgency. Maybe we need a second venue that, we can have half of it at. Or maybe we need to cancel this and get a bigger venue, even if it's not in Anaheim. Maybe we go over to Long Beach, or we go over to some other area of Los Angeles, because we need more space. They should have booked something that held 7,000 people at a minimum. But in the end, they ended up selling over 5,000 tickets, and this is not even counting the free tickets. But what they did was they shut down the free tickets so that, only 200 people got those. Everybody else wanted that VIP experience, so they bought the $5,065 tickets. So that's already over $300,000 in ticket sales, and they teamed up with a brand new ticketing system called 𝗵𝗄s that sold the tickets and held it in escrow for them. Now, one thing that they wanted was to make sure they had plenty of good security. They checked everybody's bags, and they were supposed to have 90 security guards. They only booked 40. So now you've got a venue a quarter of the size of the tickets you sold, and less than half of the security you were supposed to have. This is going to be good. So basically, it was supposed to be held June 23rd and 22nd in Anaheim. They booked a very small venue. They only booked half the security they needed. They didn't really hire. They hired a bunch of loosely, kind of like Fyre Festival, that kind of loose network of contractors to get everything done. They met with one of the best concert promoters in town who got their stage set up, got it perfect, but they spent a lot of their budget on that stage. So yeah, that was beautiful. That went off without a hitch, but they didn't realize how much space that stage would take up and how much it would cost. But yes, they did do that. And what Michael failed to do was book anybody other than the hotel's restaurant to do food service. So you have all these kids, and they were kids because Tana's fan base and the fan base of a lot of these creators are preteens, teens, early 20-somethings coming in, might need something to eat or drink, but they didn't book anybody but the hotel restaurant to provide any sort of food. 4,000 or 5,000 people. And to think about it, Michael, previous events were kind of concert types, and so he would book. I know when he booked one here in Nashville, he booked it at Rocket Town, which is kind of a teen, early 20-something hangout that has concessions, and so it has a capacity of maybe 2,000 people. So they had plenty of concessions to handle those people, and so those were the kind of venues he would book. He would book his events in places that already had built-in concessions, so that probably didn't register that this hotel, a small Marriott Inn and Suites, hometown Inn and Suites, did not have the food capacity to feed that many people. But again, maybe he was again thinking 1,000 to 2,000 people, they'll filter in and out. Probably don't need to worry about it that much. But anyway, so Tana basically dropped everything on him. The only thing that he was able to do as far as the gift bags that were supposed to be worth 4 times that VIP ticket price was, I'm literally not kidding about this, there were 3 sheets of pita stickers in each one. You had the actual bag itself, which was like a little backpack kind of floppy bag that was pretty cheap. Inside of it, you had those stickers. You had a cell phone, like the Mopey that you put on the back. It was kind of a generic Mopey that had Tanacon on it. And then it had a condom. I kid you not, it was a condom with the Tanacon logo on it. That was the entirety of that gift bag. Now, that was probably worth $30 at the most, half of what the tickets cost. And all the time they were telling people there was going to be makeup, there was going to be lemon head glitter in there was going to be coupons, there was going to be all kinds of stuff that would make that gift bag worth 4 times the ticket price. So even if you didn't have such a great time at the festival, you would still be pleased because you did get your money's worth out of the gift bag itself. But as you can see, that fell way short of expectations. So Tana's on vacation pretty much the whole time. She comes in the day before the event. It looks good to her because she's never done this, and she figures Michael's the expert. So, you know, everything, there's Tanacon logos and signage everywhere. The stage is built. All the meet and greet rooms are set up with chairs. So to her, it looks like everything's kosher. There's registration tents out in the parking lot. There was supposed to be 2 different lines, one for general admission and one for VIP. And then when they scanned their VIP tickets, they were supposed to search their bags and give them their gift bag and let them filter on in. It was supposed to start at 10 a.m. the next day on Saturday, on the 22nd. Well, they get there. She gets there. Everything looks, I guess, kosher to her. So she's running about, you know, making sure that the VIP tent set up. And, you know, it was a beautiful, like, green room they had set up for all the creators. All the creators were there. She didn't provide hotels or anything for any of these creators, but most of them lived in LA, so it really wasn't a big deal. So to her, everything looks good. They're partying into the night. The first day of the festival comes. There's 1,000 people in the parking lot when they first open the doors, and those 1,000 people do filter in. Just, you know, they scanned the bags, they checked the bags, they did everything they were supposed to do when that first 1,000 people came in, and the conference starts. And all the time, Tana is saying that she's asking Michael, how's everything going? Is it going good? He's like, yeah, there's a little bit of a line out front, but everybody's filtering in and out just like we expected. It's all good. So she went about being the host and doing her panels and things like that, her meet and greets. Well, then she starts getting tweets about what a disaster the outside is. And then there's footage of the outside with like 4,000 to 5,000 people standing in a parking lot in a line at a small hotel. No shade, no food, no water. The line is not moving because the hotel is at its capacity. So she was told that now that 20,000 people showed up. 20,000 people showed up, and that's why there's such a line out there, that they just blew their expectations, which was not true because later estimates, the actual Anaheim Police Department came out saying there was 4,000 to 5,000 people in the parking lot. So the only people that showed up were the people that bought tickets, plus the people inside. So that whole thing that she was told to kind of lessen, and she was tweeting that. All these creators are tweeting, 20,000 people showed up. Wow. And as a result, there's a bunch of people standing in a line. Well, that wasn't the case. Only the people that bought tickets and had free tickets showed up. There just wasn't enough room in the hotel for them. So people are standing out there all day getting sunburnt, dehydrated. An ambulance came and took someone away. All this time, Tana's thinking there's 20,000 people out there. And when she finally gets outside and realizes not 20,000 people out there, her and Bella Thorne go into, as her girlfriend at the time, was going into damage control, talking to these people, handing out waters, trying to talk to them, tell them, hey, we're sorry. This wasn't what we expected to happen. This wasn't what we wanted to happen. So we're really sorry. So they kind of went to damage control. All these fans are tweeting at their favorite creators, "Hey, I came here to see you. I can't see you." And a lot of the creators were getting upset. They were starting to tweet Tana saying, "What the hell's going on? We put our name on this. This is not cool. What are you doing?" And so they stood outside for hours until finally Michael made the announcement they were canceling the first day of TanaCon. They were going to find a second venue that would hold everybody, and that it would commence the next day. So everybody went home and they were told to watch Twitter, watch goodtimeslive.com for updates, and they would tell them how to get their tickets, their passes, and where their new venue was. So everybody went home. There was a flurry of YouTube videos being uploaded about TanaCon disaster, TanaCon experience. Tana went out partying that night. Didn't really think about it. Michael and his team stayed up all night in a conference room trying to figure it out. They went from venue to venue. There's footage of him literally begging other venue managers to please let him hold it there. In the end, he couldn't secure another venue, so they had to basically cancel the event on the second day, and they told everybody that refunds would be issued. But the deal with that was that he signed a contract that said Veeps would hold all the money in the event of a disaster to protect themselves. So you had Veeps holding over $300,000 that he was going to have to go through a legal channel to get out. All the time people wanting not only refunds of their ticket money, but people wanted refunds of their travel money, their hotel money, which was going to be far excess of the $300,000 in ticket money that was being collected. So in the end, it was a huge disaster. Tana basically went into damage control and blamed everything on Michael. Michael does come off as a little arrogant, so I can understand that. She said he signed everything. He read all the contracts. He dropped the ball on the goodie bags and the food and didn't make the arrangements like he should. He said that she would fire off, she was never there. She would just fire off orders of what she wanted done and expect him to handle it and not answer his questions, not make their meetings. And there's a lot of footage of her being drunk and in bed during their meetings and him having to drag her out. So I think there's truth on both sides. Shane Dawson did a 3-part documentary, which I'll link below, that kind of went on the inner workings and showed all these different interviews, all these different things. But basically, in the end, it was a disaster. And all the blame because Michael owned Good Times, and Good Times is drawn up as a sole proprietorship. In business, you have a couple of different ways you can draw up companies. One's a sole proprietorship, which means the company is the person that started it. Their income is the company's income, blah, blah, blah. Then there's, different types. There's a partnership, which is essentially the same thing, more than one person. And then there's limited liability companies and corporations, which the business kind of takes on its own entity and the owner's money is protected to a certain extent. Michael didn't do any of that. It was also proprietorship. So in the end, all of this fell on him. And he had to go through a legal channel to get the money from Veeps to pay off the vendors. Now there's the little problem of refunding everybody, which now the money's gone. So what did he do? He filed bankruptcy late October 2018. So there are still people to this day that haven't received their refunds. A few people did by going through Veeps or PayPal, but for the most part, a lot of people still haven't been refunded. Michael filed bankruptcy. He and Tana had a huge falling out. Good Times stopped doing events. He's now switched Good Times Entertainment to Good Times TV, producing documentaries. His first was an expose on TanaCon, which you can see on YouTube. I'll link that below. And Tana just went into hiding for a while and then finally did a video, like a hour-and-a-half video talking about TanaCon and what she did and what she didn't do and how she was sorry and how she was willing to write a check for everybody's Refunds, that never happened. So in the end, was TanaCon a scam? No, I don't think it was a scam. It ended up being a scam, but I think it was a festival put on for all the wrong reasons, that it was a good idea that should have needed at least a year to plan. You can't do a festival like that in 2 months. If that's what we learned from Fyre Festival, if you're doing a large scale event, you need at least a year. So it was a good idea that just evolved because two young kids were trying to put it on that didn't have nearly enough experience. So that's TanaCon in a nutshell. And I'll put all the links to everything below. Really appreciate you guys. Next week, I'm going to go into religious scams, the case of 𝗵𝗿 and some others for a very special subscriber. I hear you when you tell me. Any other scams or white-collar crimes you'd like to know? I want to do the Enron. I want to do Health South. I want to do a bunch of different ones that I think are important. But if there's any that you'd like to know of, drop me a line below. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Tracy Barkley, Keto Comic, out.